Welcome to Flights, the podcast where we uncork the secrets to running a successful destination wedding and group travel business. Each episode, we will explore the good, bad, and ugly of destination weddings while sipping on the finest wines from our pantries.
As your hosts, we believe in savoring the journey with a glass of wine in hand. Join us, Mario Lopez and Ashley Morris of Destination Wedding University, as we explore all of the adventures and misadventures that we experience in this crazy industry.
All right. Welcome back to episode 2 of Flights. We're here today with Ashley Morris. Hi, Ashley.
Hi. I'm still dancing to our music. I still really like it. It was a good choice. It makes me happy. I hope people like it because we actually put a lot of thought into that music. So
there was a lot of conversation into that music.
So many choices. Who knew? There's like a whole industry of podcast music. I had no idea. That's what we should be doing next. The playbook
next $1 million idea, right?
Yeah. Or a band.
A band. Oh my God, a band that just does podcast music.
I'm positive it exists. After everything we just went through, I am certain that exists. And if not, it will now.
We're researching this later. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me. As if you had a choice.
Of course. As the newest member of Destination Wedding University, we love having you here. I love having you here.
It's official.
It's now official now. It's
bound for life. Or with 60 days of notice legally.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm really happy to be here. I think the first one was great. That was all about you. And now you get to interview me, which is a little nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie.
It's a little nerve-wracking the other way, too. I'm much better about talking about myself. So, well, okay. So let's dive into it then. I guess first things first, tell me a little bit about you, about your background.
Oh, about me. Well, I feel like this is somewhat cheating because I was actually a guest on Will's podcast when he had it. So there is some background out there. I will try to give new stories so people don't feel like this is a waste of time repeating it. And if they want to refer back to that, that's there. But the short story is I, like you, grew up in the Midwest, but I grew up in St. Joseph, Missouri, which is just north of Kansas City. Went to Mizzou for school, studied journalism, which really fed my desire to be nosy about anything and everything. I feel like I'm like a trained investigator now. And I have a journalism degree that I really didn't put to great use because I ended up in advertising, which is kind of the seedy little sister of journalism. It's what
That's
it keeps... it keeps journalism going, but it's that kind of like behind the scenes thing that nobody wants to talk about. And so I went to Mizzou, graduated with a journalism degree. I graduated in 2002. So I'm a smidgen older than you, but also not a great time to graduate with a degree in journalism. I'll put it this way, this will date me. But when I graduated, they had just coined the phrase new media. That's how old I am, that like everything digital was just starting to be new media, strategic communication, all these fancy names for what they were going to call it. But that's what I went for.
I didn't mean to sound so surprised that that's...
Like, oh my God, you're ancient. Oh. I did have an email address in college. I'm not that old. But yeah. So I graduated from Mizzou in 2002 and pretty much instantly tried to get as far away from Missouri as I could. So I worked in advertising for quite a few years. I was in Wisconsin, which is where you said orbited around each other. I think that's perfect. We were there at the same time because I was in Milwaukee for close to 7 years. Worked on the agency side, worked at Kohl's corporate, which is how I got into the client side of things. And then from there, worked advertising and marketing roles at Target in Minneapolis. So I just went more north and more terrible cold weather for a few years. A hot second in Atlanta, which I hated living in Atlanta. And then when I was in Atlanta, they gave me the opportunity to move to our New York office. And I don't even think she had finished the sentence. And I was like, yes, I'll go. Like it really just...
New York City, advertising, the Mecca.
Yeah, right. Yes. I'd be stupid not to. So I lived in Manhattan for a few years. And then as fate would have it, because life is funny, what's that saying about making plans and God laughing? That's definitely what happened. Because I reconnected with my now husband, who is military. Matt is active duty Air Force. And guess where he was stationed? Whiteman Air Force Base in Kansas City, Missouri. So I just boomeranged right back to the exact place where I didn't want to be anymore. And we have lived here for the past 5 years. Time is flying. I feel like I just moved back, but at the same time, so much has happened.
Very nice. How are you adjusting?
Like I can't even, I'm getting better at hiding it. Like it was, hey, we said we would be honest. And I know New York is not for everyone. It's a different life, but it was perfect for me. I just really enjoyed living there. I loved how dynamic the city was. I loved walking. I'm a terrible driver. I shouldn't be behind the wheel. So it was really nice to take a break from driving. I'm not as bad as you, and someday we will have a whole episode about how Mario drives a car, because you guys should see, being in the car with him is interesting. He sits with his like cross-legged across. Okay, we digress. But I loved New York. I was not thrilled about coming back to Missouri, but there are some pros. It is very easy to live here. It is very inexpensive compared to New York. I mean, what isn't? And it really put us in a great position where I was able to start this business and thrive, because I didn't have that financial pressure of living in Manhattan, which is where I started the company. And it was harder there at the beginning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So before we go, we'll get into travel and your background there, whatnot. Before we do that, take me back a little bit. Tell me about family. Tell me about growing up.
Oh gosh. So I'm one of 6 girls, which always seems to surprise people, but we're kind of like an all-female Brady Bunch. Like my dad and my stepmom got married when I was 8. So there were 3 girls and 3 girls, and we came together in total chaos. And Catholic school survivor is my official religion. I did go to Catholic school through the 12th grade. So therefore I will never go to church again. And yeah, I mean, it was great. Like growing up in the Midwest, it's very easy to grow up. One thing I look at now is I am so thankful that I grew up in a time where social media wasn't a thing. I'm sure you feel the same way. Oh, yeah. Like I could not imagine growing up now with all the pressure, and it just seems so hard. So I'm glad that I had the upbringing that I did, and I was able to do all of my stupid things before anyone could document them.
You know what? I know there's pictures out there of me. I'm just waiting for someone to like upload them and put them up. It'll be a disaster one day. We'll see. It will be. It'll be one of the reasons that I get canceled, but that's we'll see.
Those are blackmail photos, right? just be very careful about what you do and you'll be fine.
Okay, cool. So then I guess from there, take me into travel. How did you get into travel?
Okay. So like we talked about with you, I was working in advertising. You were more in a kind of creative agency from what I know, and I was more on the media side. So to put this into terms people will understand, we were the Sharks and the Jets. Like we were like worked in the same industry, but on very different, almost oppositional sides. It's amazing we get along at all. Like because they're just 2 very different sides of the business. So Mario would help facilitate what you see, the creative, and I put it in a place where you would see it. So they're very complementary sides of the business, but I worked in like the math nerd part of advertising. So it's all about finding the right audience, negotiating placements, negotiating budgets, like anything that you see that's an ad was put there by a media person, and it was specifically put there to target you, like your habits, your day-to-day life. That's what I did. So my job was more like psychology and math than anything.
I think that's one of my favorite things about how this all kind of organically came together is we, in multiple facets of our lives, have that like, it's a complementary version of.
Yeah. It's like yin and yang the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's, I mean, both coming from advertising, both coming from marketing, but having that like creative side versus the, more analytical side. It's been a really interesting dynamic over these past couple months.
Yeah, buckle up, people. It's going to be interesting. I think already inside the playbook, it's like, go ask dad. Like you'll have the nicer answer for something. And I'm just like, this is how it is. And then you're the one saying, well, what she meant was like, it's going to be a very interesting dynamic.
One of my favorite things is I always tell people, I always told Will, it's what always worked with us is I have a very nice way of telling you to piss off. It's you're not going to know it's happened until it's already happened. So
yeah, very necessary skill sometimes in life and in travel. So yeah, how did I get into travel? So I was in media in New York planning our destination wedding. Matt and I got married in Punta Cana, and I had met with a travel agent, kind of an old school brick and mortar. It was a Liberty Travel, actually, because I knew that there were people that did this, but I didn't really know how it worked. And I knew that I didn't have time or the understanding. Like, I traveled a little bit. That's always been like my hobby and my passion. I'm not the girl that like shopped for clothes or shopped for shoes or anything. I was buying plane tickets early on and going on trips. And so I kind of knew that people planned destination weddings professionally. And I sure as hell knew I was going to need help getting our friends and family to go to a place they had never been. That was just growing up in middle of nowhere, Missouri. That was not something you did, and was a very foreign concept to my family, pun intended. So I kind of looked for help. We met with a travel agent, and I loved the idea of what she was doing, but I hated how it was done, because this was also 2000. When did I get married? 2015, 2016. I had to think about this. Matt and I got married twice, but that's a whole different story. So we're planning the destination wedding, and it was even still not that long ago, faxing, paper, like scanning stuff, signing stuff and scanning it. It was just so brutal. So I'm spending my days in an advertising agency, which is a very high-tech environment. At the time, I was working on Spotify, which is obviously very tech savvy. And it just felt really weird to be doing all these like really efficient things during the day and then going home at night and planning a wedding where I had to like fax in and sign paper. It was just weird. So as I was starting to think of, well, Matt and I are getting married, I'm going to have to move to Missouri because that's where he is. I need to find a job. I don't really have any marketable skills working in advertising. Like, that's not like translatable skills, I will say. It's
that
not like there's
feels like in advertising always, even though you have all these skills, but yeah.
I think they put it into us that we like can't do anything else, and that's why we stay for so long.
Exactly.
It's just brainwashing. But I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and it's not like there's advertising agencies on every corner in Knob Noster, Missouri, which is where Whiteman Air Force Base is. Oh yeah, Knob Noster.
Okay.
You just hang on to that one.
Yeah.
So I kind of started looking for a plan B. And I was also, too, if I'm being honest, getting kind of burned out on working in advertising. Like, it's kind of a grind, it's just long days, and just, as I say this, it's a lot of long days doing things for other people when they ask you to, much like planning weddings. So here we are. But I was just kind of over it and needed something different. And Matt is actually the one who put the idea in my head. He was like, well, if you're so unhappy with how our agent was doing our wedding, why don't you just learn to do that? He was like, why don't you just kind of figure out a way? He's like, you plan all of our trips, you do everything anyway. How can that be your job? And that, I don't know why I hadn't thought about it that way before, but that it was like the aha moment that you see in movies where I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this as a job. And so I actually went to travel agent school, which is something that still exists, but not a path that a lot of people go down. It was a 16-week program, like once a week, virtual, like Zoom, which was unheard of at the time. This is obviously pre-pandemic, and nobody was doing Zoom. And so it was just kind of a nice way to learn about the industry, still have my day job, and then just kind of slowly start easing into things. So like so many people, my first clients were friends and family, like, hey, please, can I book your trip? Like, can I do this? And 9 years later, here we are doing this full time every day.
So as part of that 9 years, I guess one of the questions that I have for you is, what made you decide to go into the playbook and to take that step in your career?
Oh, yeah. It's so funny that I ended up with the niche of weddings because I had a destination wedding because I didn't like weddings. You know what I mean? Like, I had a destination wedding because I was like, I'm not this traditional bride. I don't want to do this. I mean, being totally transparent, I had been married before. I had done the whole like big wedding, and a destination wedding for us was really just about the quality time with our families and bringing them together and doing something a little bit different. And so I liked that. I was like, how can I bring more of that? And how can I help people do that? And then my office mate in New York, the girl that was right next door to me in my office, got engaged. And she was like, you had a destination wedding. I know you're doing this travel thing. Can you help me? And we went out to get drinks. It was Alicia and Rob, her now husband, and I went out for drinks. And she said, I know you're just learning this, but I also watch you work every day. And I know if you don't know it, you'll figure it out. So would you help? Would you do this? So she was my first client. I charged her a whopping fee of $250, which now seems like robbery. She got a great deal.
Yeah. We'll send you an invoice, Alicia.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing because she sent me a lot of referrals over the years too. And she was right. Like what I didn't know, I could figure out. But what I didn't like is that I was figuring it out on my own.
Yeah.
Like I had a host. I was part of one of those big host companies. I'm one of 5,000 people. I don't know who to ask for help. I don't know what the motivation is behind the person that's helping me. Like, do they know what they're talking about? Are they totally full of shit? Like what's happening? Like, I don't know. And so it just felt like I was out there swimming in this like murky environment and not really sure which direction I should take. So I white knuckled my way through it. I figured it out. That first wedding had 60 rooms, which is absurd for my first wedding. Like that was so much. I had no idea. And I did a couple more weddings and I was like, all right, I kind of like this. It is much easier in my brain to copy and paste the same trip 60 times than it is for me to plan like 60 honeymoons, 60 vacation, 60 family vacations. I like the efficiency of weddings, but I knew there was a lot I didn't know. And I knew Will through just industry. I mean, everyone knew who Will was. I really struggle with that still. So I'm sure we'll continue.
I do it. I go in and out. Yep.
All right, good. And I kind of reached out to him and I was like, hey, I see you're doing this thing. Is it for people who are brand new or can you join even if you've done some weddings? And he was like, absolutely. This is the first time we're doing it. It's great for people of all levels. Come have fun with us. We'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. And that's what we did. And that's how I ended up there. The first playbook class, OG 2018, 5 years ago. That's wild. You said that in the first episode and it really didn't sink in that, 5 years has passed since then.
I tossed it out there. I hadn't actually done the math before. I'm like, 5 sounds right. That's so, but it is.
Who will dare to question you?
Right?
That is exactly. You can do whatever you want.
So from there, I mean, obviously your business has just grown exponentially. Give us a little insight into growing your team and how you did it and why you made some of the decisions that you made along the way.
Yep. Great. So I started off like most people do. I still had a full-time job. Like that's how a lot of us get into this. Travel is kind of in nights and weekends. I hate the word hobby, but kind of is a hobby at first. And I kind of saw the writing on the wall that the only way for me to get serious, like my day job was limiting my travel growth. Like there was a time, where you're doing your day job and then you're doing your travel stuff, like all the same. Like I would physically have 2 computers open sometimes where I was doing both. And I knew I needed to quit. This is when I was still in New York, and getting married and moving to Missouri was the right time to like cut the cord. Except when I tried to give my notice, you know how ad agencies are, they just find a way to suck you back in. So I gave my notice 3 times. And each time they said, well, could you just stay a couple more weeks? Could you just stay until we find your replacement? And then there was a point where I'm like physically getting on a plane to come to Missouri. And they were like, well, could you just work remotely until we find someone else to fill your place? The client I had at the time, I guess, really liked me and they were nervous about giving me up. So they're like, could you just stay until the client feels more comfortable with your replacement? Okay, like that's fine. So that was supposed to be 3 months of commuting. I lived in Kansas City. I would fly to LaGuardia on Mondays, work in the office until Thursday, fly home on Thursday nights. That was supposed to be for 3 months and it ended up being 2 years. So I was going back and forth this whole time and it just had to stop. Like I couldn't, it was affecting all parts of my life. It was too much. It was affecting our brand new marriage. It was affecting my health. It was affecting our plans because I was just burning the candle at both ends all the time. And I knew that I couldn't grow the business anymore, couldn't grow Alpaca anymore if I still had this day job. And so I finally did quit for good. And that is, you can almost see it in the numbers. It's like a spark. That's when things really started to take off because that's when I could devote all of my energy to the business. And weddings were the biggest tool to do that. So to overlap these 2 timelines, I quit 360i. I quit my job in June 2018. We started the playbook in September 2018. And I attribute both things to that success because we have been really lucky. It started off as just me and now it's me, 2 full-time employees and 3 ICs. that are fantastic. And so what's that been, 5 years, that kind of growth? We're now several multi-million dollars in business a year. It's been phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Really lucky.
That's amazing. So I guess, the natural progression for you might have been for you to go on and teach some of these things on your own and to coach a little bit and, things like that. So how do we get from your business doing what it did and you making the decisions that you made, and then fast forward to today with you being on the team and what does all that look like with the coaching?
Oh gosh. So I'm naturally very bossy. And I have opinions, right? Like anyone who's met me for 5 minutes knows that I have like opinions, but that really comes from a desire just to help people. Mm-hmm. And I think once I had been through the first round of the playbook, which keep in mind, this was brand new. Nobody knew what this was going to be. It was a investment at the time. It was a gamble. It was, oh my gosh, am I really going to spend all this money to learn from this one person? And it's such a community that it's yes, Will was a fantastic leader and he brought us all together and I learned so much from Will, but it's also the community of bringing everybody together. And when we were there, people were so open and sharing like what works for them, what didn't work for them. And as I was starting to apply some of these principles and as I would see my business taking off, I just wanted to tell more people about it. Like how you can do this too. Like I see people struggling. I see people come into travel and they really just can't. It's that momentum. They just don't have the tools that they need to get started and run a sustainable business. And I just naturally want to help people do that because I did it. Like I transitioned from one career into another. I think it's so fascinating that most people come into travel from a totally different business. There's very few people that actually like start working in travel right when they graduate. So I just wanted to help people do the same thing. And it's given so much to my life, like being able to support now 3 families full time and 3 additional families part time, it's just such a gift to be able to do that through something that we like made ourselves. And so, yeah, Will and I had talked a lot about, well, when are you going to do your coaching thing? Or when are you going to help people or sell your templates or do whatever? Like you've made so much, like, how can you offer that to the community? And it just never felt like the right time. I didn't want to compete with him. I didn't want to step on his toes. I didn't want to stifle anything he was doing because it was such a good thing, but I knew that I could help. So I just started being a really big pain in the ass. Like I just started participating in everything. I'm like, I don't want to compete with Will, but I can help. Yeah. Like I can help answer questions. I can help explain this to people in a different way, or here's what I did. And, Will and I didn't always agree on how we did things. We have some things that we did very differently. And I think sometimes it was nice for people to get like a different perspective. So it was never the right time, nor did I have the desire to do any of this on my own. But obviously in February, when everything happened, I mean, like just kind of threw us into this spot together. And now I am more than happy to do whatever I can to help keep the community going, help, bring new people into this industry and new people into this family. So it was kind of a right place, right time, but that sounds so horrible because obviously we didn't want this to happen.
Well, and you were always a part of it. And so that's what I think one of the things that I love about it the most, about the way this all worked out, is us being able to kind of just naturally flow into this, right? It's not an introduction to the community. It's not, flights is because we're speaking to a lot bigger than just the Playbook Inner Circle, but right. It's also, for the Inner Circle, everyone knows you. Everyone knows who Ashley is. It was a very natural fit. I think one of the other things I want to reiterate from what you just said there is the beautiful thing about, first of all, the dynamic between the two of us, but then also just the dynamic within the Inner Circle is that we do get to bring different perspectives into it. And so, yes, this is the way that Will taught things, but on a regular basis, we have conversations within the Inner Circle about, hey, which calendar do you guys use? This is what Will taught us to use. Which one are you guys using? Which CRM are you using? That's, all these different things that allows people to make their own decision. We teach the principles of it and why we do it. And you take those and you implement in your business and make it work for you. It's just one of the interesting things that you spoke about there. So a little bit of a left curve here. I want to hear a little bit about like your most dreadful, let's start personal travel experience, your most dreadful experience.
Most dreadful experience. Oh God, I've got a lot of good stories on this. Because we talked about this question before, and so I was trying to prepare, and I feel like I had something and now it's just gone. So we're just going to go with whatever comes out of my mouth. So like I said, even before I worked in travel, I was a traveler. Like even back from being a kid, when you have that many kids, our parents had to find cheap ways to entertain us. So our vacations were like camping and traveling, and we would go to Colorado, we're Panama City Beach, everyone's favorite family Florida destination. Like we did a lot of road trips, and I was just moving some boxes in our basement, and I found this notebook that I wrote. I was 9, and I literally wrote a novel about our family camping trip to Colorado. And I'm talking about with like Polaroid pictures and my handwriting, writing a note. So I don't think I ever had any other path in life, really. Like this is where I was going to end up, no matter how I fought it or what I did. Like some way of being in travel was going to happen. I've stayed in some really sketchy places when you're young and you're traveling and you're trying not to spend money. I've had shower heads fall off on my head in the shower in Argentina because the hotel was so disgusting. Definitely questionable splatter stains on carpets in some places. Like my travel used to be much more adventurous, and now I feel like we've gotten into this rut of like resorts and resorts and resorts, because that's what we sell and that's what we do.
Well, I had a lot of conversations about that.
Yeah, I like mistakes. I did spell Matt's name wrong on a ticket for air, and he did get pulled aside and questioned by United because I spelled his name wrong on his ticket. It's like that shoemaker's children saying like, I do everything right for our clients, but Matt's ticket, I messed up.
Yep.
I mean, we all make mistakes. That's part of the fun of it. You learn from it and then you never do it again.
On the personal travel, have you ever done the one where you sleep in your clothes on top of the comforter?
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, definitely some sketchy places. And there's definitely been some times where I've had, being from a small town and being from the Midwest, like my parents were always sometimes a little nervous about me traveling and doing some of these things. And we were in Kenya. This is just a couple of years ago. And we got pulled over by the police and kind of like shaken down for money, which happens as part of travel. That was the first time I had the moment of like, oh, this is what my dad was worried about. Like, this is definitely
my
not
dad, what he was talking about.
This is why they were nervous. Oh, I understand this now.
Didn't you call your dad on that trip too? Like,
oh no, that was when we got pulled over by the police in Mexico, but that was a difference.
Okay.
I actually sent him a picture of the federale driving the car and just sent it to him. So I think I've given my dad many heart attacks over the years, but we're still here. We're in one piece. It's working out.
So I guess then from a professional standpoint, what do you think? Let's phrase it as, what is the biggest issue that you've come across with a couple or with a wedding in general?
Okay. When you decide to specialize in weddings, what you have to remember is that it is a different type of travel that you are planning. It is not the same as planning a honeymoon or a family vacation or an anniversary trip where the couple picked you and the couple chose you for your expertise. And it's a very like everyone love fest relationship, right? They picked you, they chose you, you love working with them. Everything's great. A wedding is much more transactional. Yes, it is all that with the couple. The couple picked you and the couple chose you and they love you and they trust you and they know that you're going to get them from point A to point B. Because a lot of people come into a wedding and they think, I want to have a destination wedding, but I have no idea what I'm doing. And they're looking for that coach to guide them through the process. That is all great and wonderful. But what sometimes people don't understand is that flip side, the guest part of booking a wedding is very transactional. It's very utilitarian. It is very just operational. And if you don't have good systems in place to manage that volume, because, a wedding just isn't 2 people, it's 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. The biggest wedding I've had was 80 rooms. So 160 guests. Yeah. You have to have systems in place or those groups will eat you alive. And there were some times kind of at the beginning where I was like, oh God, okay, we have to get this figured out. We have to standardize some things. We have to templatize. Is that a word? I just made it a word. It is now. Okay. We're, templatize some things. And to some people from the outside, it seems really cold and like transactional. I'm like, oh, you're just, churning and burning these rooms. But that's what the couple has paid you to do. The couple has hired you to give a seamless experience
Yep.
and a uniform experience and something that all of the guests see you as an authority and they trust you. And so it does require you to kind of take the emotion out of it a little bit and really just treat that part as transactional because that's what you were hired to do.
Yep.
And so I did have some experiences early on where maybe I wasn't ready for that, or maybe didn't understand that, or people would start to like question things like, well, why isn't this refundable? Or why isn't the transfer included? Or what, just like little things. And I didn't always have the answers. And luckily I'm good at thinking on my feet or researching quickly on my feet. But I'm so grateful now that I have a lot of those things in place because of the playbook and because of the experience I've gained along the way. That stuff doesn't stress me out anymore. It's much easier now.
And so one of the things that you kind of were talking about there, yes, a big part of this is weddings and, having that connection with the couple and knowing the resorts that are going to be able to deliver on the vision within budget and things like that. But it's also big into groups and managing groups. And so tell me a little bit about kind of your vision for your company and how groups are going to play into that in the future and, expand on that a little bit for me.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think a lot of when people hear what we do, I'm sure you get this too. Oh, you plan weddings for a living? Oh, well, all those bridezillas, it must be terrible. And you say, no, it's not. It's great because you get to interact with so many different people and help them have this amazing experience that they couldn't do on their own. Most people could not organize a group of 100 people to travel to the end of their driveway, let alone to another country. And everything that's involved with that. So it's like, if you love logistics, it's a dream. But sometimes travel people who are looking at this as a niche, sometimes they get caught up on the wedding. Well, I don't really love weddings, or I don't really want to do weddings. Weddings are just a gateway. Like weddings are the gateway drug to other types of groups. And we're kind of transitioning a little bit of that with my business with Alpaca right now, because yes, I started off in weddings, but weddings, it was always meant to be complemented with other types of group travel. So I want to take the principles of how we run our business for weddings, like all those systems and all those tools and everything we've put into place to do weddings like this. Weddings are going to be the foundation of what we do. But me, Ashley, as a human, I also need some fulfillment with some other types of planning and other types of travel. And I need to stretch and grow and do things that interest me too. So that was the plan pre-COVID, was to start complementing our wedding business with other types of group travel, like adventure travel, safaris, Antarctica, Iceland, like experiences you want to have with a group of people to share with. And COVID kind of derailed that. We kind of got sucked into the wedding black hole for a couple of years with rescheduling and postponing and replanning. And I feel like we're finally just coming out of that. And now we're in a place where I can take some of those solid playbook principles and apply that now to other types of travel. So short answer, you don't have to love weddings to be a part of this community or to learn something from this community. Everything that we do can apply to other types of group travel as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just to add on that, if you ever want a good logistical challenge, try moving a wedding in the middle of a pandemic. I
did it 39 times.
Oh my God.
For the rest of my life. I need to get a tattoo of the number 39. You guys did at least, you did more than that. I don't know how many you moved
It was intense. It was a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. So then from there, so now we're doing the podcast, we're doing flights. That's in the last episode. For our listeners, if you haven't gone and listened to the last episode, go listen to episode 1.
Should. There's only one.
Start from the beginning. It'll make a lot more sense. But tell me a little bit about your vision for flights and what can we expect from it?
Okay. Well, I'm going to back up and tell a little bit more about how we got here.
Okay.
We were talking, we knew that we were going to work together to move the playbook forward, the next chapter. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about what that would entail, and people knew who you were. They know you as Mario, Will's husband, and they knew who I was in the playbook. But outside of that, I kind of stick to my own bubble. I have my own people in the travel industry. I don't really super love events and going to things like that. And I know they're not always your favorite thing to do either, but oh my gosh, are you getting an education this year? I think you've been to every event. Yeah. And so I'm much more comfortable in kind of a backseat role sometimes with sort of those things, but I knew to do this, for this to be successful and us to take Will's legacy to the next phase, people were going to have to get to know us a little bit more. So you said, hey, let's do a podcast. And I was like, cool, let's do it as a way for people to get to know us before we start this next chapter. And you came up with the name Flights, which I was like, damn it, why didn't I think of that? Like, it's so good. And I was so jealous that I didn't come up with that because it's a great name. And it has so many meanings. Like you talked about it in the first episode with, we haven't really showcased our glasses much this time around, but we are drinking. I feel like people should know that. That's why I'm like getting so red. It's from the drinking. Flights of wine. Maybe there will be flights of other drinkable things in future episodes. I still think we should have a holiday episode, but not with eggnog because it's disgusting. And I know you like it.
I disagree on that.
Well, we'll see who wins by the time we get there. But what I really love about it, it's such a play on words. Clearly, I like a pun, but this idea of like really ascending into something new or great. I don't think there's another industry where you can pave your own path. You can build yourself up from an idea. Like Alpaca Your Bags Travel was born. I was sitting on my couch in Manhattan trying to come up with a business name, and I saw a meme and I was like, yeah, let's just go with it. It's weird and different, and so am I. And people will remember it, and it can have so many things. Will built his business from nothing. That man worked his ass off to get to where he was. And there just really aren't that many industries like that where you can be a self-starter and be rewarded so tremendously for your efforts. There's a lot of people in the travel industry who have done this. So like I said earlier, so many people have come to this industry from other areas, and there's so many great stories like that. And I love this as a platform, not only to talk about what we do and how we can help people with the playbook, but also to highlight some of those stories along the way of people who've really ascended into new levels and done amazing things. And that's the part about this I'm most excited about. Yes, let's talk about us and the playbook and everything we're doing, but I'm really excited about the opportunity to highlight some of these other great stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, there was a couple concepts that Will really stressed on throughout the playbook that I have loved and really resonated with me. And I know it's resonated with a lot of the people. I'm wearing one of the bracelets right now. There's, his first one, do it scared, which was just, it's getting into this and doing what you need to do to live the life that you want to live. And the only way that you're going to do it is if you do it scared. Right. And so that's what this community here is for, is to kind of support that and encourage it. And then what we were speaking to a little bit there is community over competition.
Absolutely.
Making sure so now you're in the playbook and you're learning the lessons and you're going through the different modules, but more importantly, when you have questions on things, you're able to kind of lean on this entire community to be like, hey, how do I do this? I'm working on this. We'll come back to some of this with some of the numbers, as we go, but it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
There's so much room.
Yeah, so that we can all be successful and we can all do what we need to do to grow our businesses and live our dream and not have to feel like we're stepping on each other's toes. And when we do step on each other's toes, because from time to time it happens, it's hey, good job. I'm so glad you closed them. Like, yeah. So
it's the best community of people. I mean, I'm biased because I'm part of it, but I think it's the best community of people. And what I love about it is how we know when we're out at events, like those events that we don't always enjoy going to. I know that I have a group of people. Like, I know that I'm going to be able to find that group of people, and we welcome each other with open arms. We're there cheering for each other as you walk across the stage. Like, it is a family, and it was something that Will built with that in mind. And I'm so grateful that you and I get the chance to continue it.
I think one of my favorite memories from this past year is romance travel. And I was emceeing the event and
IDWP. Sorry.
IDWP. Yep. So we were there and we started talking about the playbook, and everyone was invited up on stage, everyone with their Do It Scared, t-shirts on, and we filled that stage. Yeah. So it was amazing to see the reach that this program has had and the reach that Will has had and the impact on the community. And that right there gave us something to put a tangible aspect on, right? Could see everyone that was involved. And so I'm very excited to keep the community growing, to keep the community engaged, and to keep us all moving forward and successful together. Mm-hmm. Right?
We're a good time. People should join us.
We are sometimes a little too much fun.
Sometimes. I'm packing. So we're going to South Africa next week, and I'm packing because I'm type A and anal, and I want to make sure I have everything before we go. So yes, a week out I'm packing, but I have my mermaid tail. for Will that I'm going to take with me. And I'm like, I think that thing will probably come with me for the rest of my life anywhere.
It stays on my luggage at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Okay, so a little less serious as we just kind of wind down on some of these here.
Because the tears were starting to pop up, and I got to keep them under control. I could
right
feel
as we
it.
well up, we're gonna.
I was springing a leak, and that's not good.
So, if you could travel with any celebrity in the world, who would it be, and where would you go?
God.
Yeah,
this is so hard. This is like that whole like who would you have for dinner, like celebrity dinner table question.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of people, but there's two people. So I used to work in TV. When I worked in media, I was mostly on the TV side. And so I've been really lucky in my, I guess lucky, or I don't know what the word is, but I've interacted with a lot of celebrities because of that job. And I don't really get starstruck anymore. I don't really, it's just, they're just people doing a job like everybody else. Mm-hmm. But I would probably faint if Dave Grohl came in the room and said, "Hey, do you want to go somewhere?" Like, yes, I would. Let's go.
Let's go, Dave Grohl. Let's go.
Because I think he is fascinating. Like, he was in Nirvana. That's crazy. And then he's had this hugely successful career on his own. I'm very much outing my like Gen X-y like self right now.
A little bit.
But I don't care. He's amazing. And people who love him know. But I think he would be like a great dinner party with like he can mesh with anyone. Like I think that guy could do anything.
So Dave Grohl for the conversation is what you go for.
Yeah. And like he would just fit in with I feel like I could like take him to my family's house. He would just fit right in. Like it would be, we've known each other for years. It's gonna be great.
Best friends. Best of friends.
Best friends. Yeah. But I also think I know people. Like I watch a ton of YouTube, this. Like I don't really watch TV or like shows anymore because I think I did it professionally for so long. I watch a lot of YouTube, and there's all these travel YouTubers that I think that we're like friends because I watch them every week and follow them on social media. So I don't know, maybe I would just bring some of my travel YouTubers along who we would follow.
Nice. And then one of the other ones, this is a little bit more narcissistic. But
I mean, isn't a podcast?
Well, yeah. Listen to me talk. But on that same theme, I guess as we've gotten more involved in everything that we've been doing for the playbook, what is something that has surprised you the most about me or about the business that maybe you weren't?
Tell me about me.
Tell me about me in your interview. I would love to hear about me.
Oh, good. Well, I can tell you what I did tell you weeks ago as we were planning this. I think it is natural for people, and we talked about this in the first episode. I asked, are you doing this because you want to or because you feel like you have to? And you very clearly and eloquently said, because I want to, and here's all the reasons why. So people should go listen to that. But what I also said in that same conversation is make sure that you are not selling yourself short. Because I think some people will mistakenly fall into the trap of, oh, it's Mario Will's husband. Like, and I'm sure you're getting so sick of being referred to that way. Oh, it's Mario Will's husband. It's Will's husband, Mario. Like you are here in your own right. And you have so much to contribute to our group and our industry and beyond. And I'm so excited for people to see that. Like, I want them to see what you bring to the table as Mario and what you have experienced in your life and how you've dealt with clients and bad situations and organizing chaos and everything that you've been so good at. Like, I think you would have come to travel anyway. And I could see you doing this on your own, even if things hadn't happened the way that they happened. So I want people to know that you're here at the table for your own merits and your own achievements, not just because of what happened.
And on the same note, it's why do you want people to know that you're here?
Oh, why am I here? Isn't that like the philosophical question? Why are we here? So why I think we are great as a duo and why I know this is going to work is because we have both proven that it can. Like we've both taken these systems and tools and we have shown what we can do with it. And we took very different paths to get there. Like you said at the beginning, there's fundamentals that are the same, but we're allowed to, zig and zag and kind of take different paths and get to different places, but still just as successful. And so I think I'm here meant to be a complement to show that, yes, this is the way, like this is the path that Will developed. And these are proven tools and systems that work. But here's what other people have done that's a little different and it still works just as well. And I want people to know that I'm here to support them just as much too. I've been in their shoes. Like I'm the one, in their day-to-day, sometimes making reservations, payments, answering guest questions. Like I can help you because I've done it as well. And there's a lot of history here. A lot of stuff happens in travel over 9 years. And I can't believe we're going into year 9. And so just having that depth of history to draw from, I think brings something to the group. Like if it's happened, I've probably dealt with it. And so let me help you deal with it.
You had a choice in February that's on, you could have walked away from the playbook and taken the lessons that you had and continue on with your business. What made you decide to stay and support community and support me? And what was your driving force behind that?
We just talked about not doing this. You say I had a choice that I don't think I did. Mario.
Sorry.
Oh, drama. Good television. Good content. I didn't. The second that this happened, the voice in my head was to look out for you. And I've told you, we've had this conversation, but I knew that you were going to just getting ready to start a ride that there was no coming back from. Yeah. And there's so much that was a part of that. Like, obviously when you lose someone, you have all the logistical things that you have to deal with that. And then you had your business with 50 wedding couples coming at you wanting to know, am I still going to have a wedding? What's happening? I mean, just the urgency of all of that. In my head, it was take this off Mario's plate, the playbook, just to keep it going until you could come back. And I don't feel like I had a choice. Like this happened on a Tuesday and we had a call on Thursday, like a playbook call on Thursday morning. And there was a moment where I think we were all just kind of like virtually looking at each other, like, well, what are we going to do? And you were so entrenched in everything that needed to be done. And the topic was about social media. And I was like, well, fuck it, I can do it. Like I worked at a social media agency. I know what we're doing. I've been in the playbook for 5 years. And of course we talked about nothing. We all got on a Zoom and everybody just wanted to be together and everybody just wanted to I think be in each other's presence. But I don't feel like I had a choice. This is something that I think I was meant to do. I think that it all worked out in certain ways so we could be here together and doing this. And if it's a 10th as successful as what Will did, then we're doing a great job. We just all have our little part to play in carrying on his legacy and helping people who are interested in the help and the support, the people who are most committed and ready to go forward. There is still a place here. There is still a lot to learn. There's so many great people in this community that can help, and we're here for it. We're going to do it, make it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Hard part's over.
I hate you. Oh my God. I actually got dressed and put on makeup and now it's yeah.
Last part, easy part. We're going to do this with every single one of our guests that we have on. So it's natural that you and I will lead it off. Lightning round, just a couple questions. I just want to know a little bit about
just a couple 10.
Yep, just a dozen. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Everywhere. Like there is no anything. I can't think of really many places that I wouldn't go at least once. Yep. Because I'm too curious and I want to see what it's like. I talked about following like travel YouTubers. Drew Binsky is one. He's like early 30s. He's already been to every country in the world.
Bastard.
Oh my God, it's fascinating to me. Tara and Nate, that's another. They've been full-time traveling for 7 years. They've been to like 150 countries. Like I wish that had been a thing 10 years ago, because that is what I would be doing now. Just moving around.
That is the dream, right?
Yeah.
I moved one of them down the list. I'm going to save that one for last. But so what is your favorite word?
Word? Okay.
Just word.
Ooh. Possibility.
Okay.
Because anything is possible. Anything is figure outable. That is like a famous book. Everything is figure outable, but I do think it's true. Mm-hmm. And I try to have that with problems that come up in the business or just in life. Take a deep breath. Everything is figure outable. Everything is fixable. There's possibility in anything.
Awesome. What is your love language?
I've read that book and we've talked about it. I don't know. I really do like acts of service. And I think that is very natural for someone who does what we do, where all we do is take care of other people. Mm-hmm. And then you want someone to take care of you. Mm-hmm. This is like some therapy, probably not a podcast, but I really respond well. Like like last night we were doing the playbook happy hour. We were on it for like 2.5 hours. Matt made dinner. And so when I came home, it was waiting for me. It was there. Like that helps me feel like supported and taken care of. So being in a job where all you do is make decisions for other people and take care of other people, it's nice when people can do that for you.
Absolutely. I get that one. I now pay people to take care of that came out completely wrong.
If you cut that out, I'm gonna be so mad.
Moving on. That's not what I meant. All right. What, on the same note, what turns you off?
Oh God. People doing different things. Like people who aren't following the same path as everybody else. That's like a feeling, just people who are like doing something different or not following the rules that they think they have to follow. Like that gets me really excited. I'm really inspired by people like that.
Okay. Awesome. Cats or dogs?
Well, like a few years ago, I would have said dogs, no question. But then I brought home these 2 cats that like we live in kind of the middle of nowhere. Somebody had like dropped a litter of kittens because that happens. Sometimes people are terrible. And I was driving and scooped up 2 of them and brought them home. So we have 2 dogs and 2 cats. I never thought I was a cat person. And I don't think I am. I just think I like our cats.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Their names are Mork and Mindy, which I'm now realizing also makes me old because like the girls that work at the vet are too young to even know that they are named after an 80s TV show. But that's, yeah.
My mom and dad have Desi and Lucy, and no one.
Oh, see?
Yeah. No one under the age of 40 gets it. So it's
at the vet, they call him Mark. And I'm like, his name is Mork. It's not Mark.
Need a whole education, just shit in the DVDs. That's
Nick at Night, people. Go watch it.
Cocktail of choice.
So you took my answer, but a dirty martini is solid. I will always pick that. They are sometimes, it's a good test of a bartender.
Yes.
To see. It is deceptively difficult. Like it seems like it's very simple, but it's not. And some of them are far better than others. I don't like gin, vodka the whole way.
Me and gin, I think it was, one of those things I just had too much of in high school, and I could have a sip of gin and yeah. And yeah. It
has like that juniper-y smell. I don't like, there's some gins that are okay, like a Hendrix or something that's a little more floral and not quite as strong, but that like Bombay, like astringent juniper-y gin, can't do that.
So you're featured on a podcast called Flights. And since we're talking about cocktails, what is your favorite wine?
Boone's Farm. No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to say that. Bringing one home for the Missouri people. Let's go. I do like a Malbec. That was yours. That's good. Pinot Noir. I think is good. I do better with like lighter reds. One thing, as I get older, reds are not sitting as well with me sometimes. And so I have to be a little bit choosier. Here's one thing, because I grew up in the TV industry and in media, I was spoiled from a very early age because I had TV reps with expense accounts taking me out to dinner when I was like 24, 25 years old. So my taste in wine got very expensive very fast. Yeah. And so really my whole life has been trying to replicate that experience where other people just buy me nice booze.
Comp dinners are my favorite. They're my favorite. What's on your bucket list?
That is a good question because I'll do anything. I really will just, I'm kind of an experience junkie. Like you talked about that being your love language. I'm the same way. I just want to try and do everything. I have traveled. I'm very lucky to have traveled pretty extensively in different parts of Mexico, like off the beaten path too, Caribbean, South America. I'm about to hit my 7th country in Africa, which is, I've been to more places in Africa than I have in Europe, which is crazy. So I know it's wild. I would like to hit all 7 continents. That's going to require an Antarctica trip, which is going to be an adventure, but that's something I would like to do. And then I still have like 10 states left in the US. Like we're so lucky that the US is so big and diverse and we have so much just here at home. I have about 10 states left I need to hit. And yeah, I'd like to do that soon.
And then last, I moved this one to the last question just because it's my favorite question. What is your favorite curse word, Ashley?
If anyone has talked to me for 1 fucking second, they will know that is really it just works its way into everything. It's a noun, it's an adjective, it's a verb, it's anything you want it to be. I was lucky enough to be asked to speak at Romance Travel Forum this year. And that was my goal, was to get off that stage without swearing, because it's just part of how I talk, and we don't have kids. So I don't really have to censor myself at home. And sometimes I forget that not everyone is used to hearing that come out of people's mouths all the time. So I got to watch it.
They're going to have to get used to it here. So
that's just how it is.
All right. You survived. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate just us taking the time to let everyone know about us, and, everyone get to know what they're in for.
I think it's a warning label, if anything.
I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be an amazing journey. I'm looking forward to future episodes, and thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Talk to you.
All right. Bye.
Running a travel business may have its challenges, but with a dash of humor, the right tools, an amazing community, and a lot of wine, success awaits us all. Raise a glass with us and toast to your remarkable journey.
Don't forget, if you're ready to take the next step in your travel career, one where you can focus on developing your niche, attracting leads, converting them into new clients, and automating your systems, you can build the business of your dreams. If you're ready, join us in the Playbook Inner Circle at jointheplaybook.com. We can't wait to see you inside.